I'll tell you what, it's been an insane 4 months, especially on the prediction market side, since you last were on here.
Well, number one, congrats to you on that partnership that you have. And then number two, I just watched your interview with CZ. What was that, like 2 weeks ago? That was
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
Hey, thank you. You just like organically watched it?
Yeah, no, I was streaming it live. It was cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Man, it was a weird day. Like 3 4 hours after the market fell off a cliff, and we had like the worst, I don't know, worst liquidation day ever in crypto.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it
yeah.
was a good morning at least, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about the ending there.
It's okay. And I appreciate the love. But dude, I'm excited to have you back on. A lot has happened since you first came on 4 months ago. It seems like, especially in sort of my sphere of the world, the crypto side, all anyone wants to talk about is prediction markets. Obviously, there's like, the battle going on in the prediction. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to cover, and there's just like a lot that's happened in the market. So I'm excited to get into it, some of it with you. I listened to that interview you did a couple days ago. It was really good, actually. It was like 3 4 days ago you did one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been doing some lately. I mean, the funny thing to me about it exploding now is like I remember, in like 2023 or whatever, VC companies like were like calling me and like, oh, okay, we're thinking about maybe investing in this, but like, what happens after the presidential? Is it just gonna fall off a cliff? And I was like, I don't think so because it's like, it's just gonna expand into all these other things, and it's like, anyone who thought I was gonna drop off a cliff was like totally wrong.
It's crazy how it's happened. I guess to start, like, just for a second, for we've grown a lot since you last come on. For the new people, like, just give like a quick intro and who you are, and then we can get into some of the fun stuff.
Yeah, so I go by Domer. I've been doing prediction markets for too long, since 2007 as like my full-time job. Like I literally don't do anything else. There were a couple years there where no prediction markets existed, and I like traded stocks. But yeah, other than that, full prediction markets all the time. And I mean, when I first started, like this was not big. I was like really grinding. Like, I'm like hustling for like a $50 bet like here and there. Like that's like how barren it was. And now it's just, the universe is so much bigger. So it really exploded in like 2021 when Polymarket like kind of like first got popular. And then in 2024 it went like supersonic. And so I guess I'm the biggest volume trader on Polymarket. I started like really quickly, and I've been doing a lot of market making. I trade tons of markets. I think I've traded 10,000, almost 10,000 markets in total. So I'm just a sicko.
I For some reason I thought when you came on last time you were maybe like five, and maybe
Oh,
that's not
dude,
true.
no,
No, you're always one.
won by a lot. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I was looking today, and I'm like, geez, you are one by a lot. Hey, what do you tell people that you do for a living, like
I mean,
IRL?
it's funny because yeah, because I used to always, you know, I come from a background of being a poker player as well. And there was such a stigma with being like a poker player or someone that like bets and like, like maybe like 20 years ago, it'd be like, okay, you would associate that with someone who's like, smoking in a back alley or wearing like gold chains or something. Whereas now I feel like, if you were to say a poker player or something like that, they would think like someone who's a little bit nerdy or something. So, the persona has changed so much. So I'm actually more open about it, and I will tell people that I trade, like, I just try to predict events and stuff, and sometimes people are like super interested, sometimes their eyes glaze over. It just really depends, but yeah, I'm embracing it now more.
It's crazy how mainstream this thing has gone in such a short period of time. Like I mean, I have a lot of like college age friends, a lot of people that just graduated college, and everyone is addicted to sports betting. Like all of my friends are addicted to sports betting, and I've always said that sports betting is the gateway drug, if you will, into crypto, and that was always sort of my thought process. And everyone that I show Polymarket and prediction markets to, they fucking love it. They're like, oh yeah, like absolutely, fuck yes, they eat it up. Whereas it almost feels like crypto has this second order layer of friction to fully wrap your head around it. And so it's been interesting to see it unfold. And to your intro anecdote, it really felt like the narrative was after elections, prediction markets are going to have their sort of moment in the sun, and then it's going to be over. We're going to move on. See you in 2028. the opposite is that the opposite of that has happened, and I think right now, I mean, bigger than they've ever been. Volume is basically back to where it was during peak election, and I think from like a mind share perspective, there's so many traders on my feed that had no interest in prediction markets that are talking about them frequently, taking positions, posting slips. Like, what do you think has happened that has fueled this prediction market explosion, if you will, over really the past year post election?
Yeah, I'd say, there's a couple reasons. So number one, I feel like Polymarket, and kind of prediction markets in general got the election correct. And that really like, and not only like were politicians paying to that and paying attention to that, like even like Trump was like at one point he was like, oh, the poly poll has me up or whatever, like during a rally. So like, probably millions of people heard it. But like so it permeated that, like, these prediction markets are like a legit thing that are perhaps better than what you'll hear if you're listening to like pundits on TV or whatever. So I think a lot of people paid attention to that. And then the other thing about prediction markets, you mentioned like sports betting. Like if you want to sign up for like Polymarket, for instance, and you want to bet on sports, you can bet on sports. If you don't care about sports, you want to bet on politics, you can bet on politics. If you want to bet on movies, you can bet on like any interest that you have, and like people have varied interest. Any interest that you have, you'll probably find it on a prediction market. And then plus, if you have some interest that maybe they're not putting markets up on, you can ask them like, "Oh, can you put up like, let's say there's tons of chess markets, but let's say they didn't have any chess markets. You can be like, oh, put up some chess markets, and maybe those become popular." So it's kind of just like, choose your own adventure type of thing, which I think is really cool.
Do you think it's a bottleneck that sports dominate so much volume right now?
Not really. If you think about like what prediction markets are, right? So it's like you're trying to predict some event, and some events are really important, and some events are not so important, and some events are happening in 2 hours, and some events are 3 months from now. So what's really appealing to a lot of people about sports is that it's something that they care about, and that it's happening in, let's say, 3 hours from
Yeah.
now, and they're going to be watching it anyway. So I feel like sports is always going to be a factor because it's so interactive and people care so much about it, and it has like an immediate payoff.
You gotta feel like really validated right now about how you've spent the last what 18 years of your life.
I mean, it's trippy because it's like, I've just always been doing something that I really, really like. And I feel like people have kind of figured out that this thing that I've been doing is actually really interesting. Whereas me, I've just been like, well, yeah, I mean, it's been interesting for 18 years. You guys are just kind of figuring it out now.
It's yeah, it's cool to see it. It's like I have Peter Schiff is coming on tomorrow, and I was watching this interview he did, and he's like, now Jamie Dimon wants to say it's a good time to buy gold. I've been saying it's a good time to buy gold for 35 years. It's like, man, you talk about you talk about something for 3 decades, and then it really just goes mainstream and is the topic is pretty awesome to see. Um, I mean, look, something that was pretty fascinating to watch was the South Park episode was crazy. First of all, that was I'm a huge South Park
That was
fan.
nuts.
That was
Yes.
insane to see that.
Yeah, I grew up with South Park. I mean, the South Park guys have been doing this a long ass time. You want to talk about doing something for a long time? Yeah, those guys have been on TV for a while. So yeah, I grew up watching that.
And something that was funny about the South Park episode was, I mean, it was kind of humorous and like the actual narrative of the episode was like kind of a joke, but it's sort of, and I heard you talk about this a little bit in your last interview. I'm not gonna frame it very well, probably, but it was sort of this phenomena where a lot of people started betting on a market and pushing a lineup, which basically created the event into a reality. Like the market actually influenced what happened in the real world rather than the real world influencing the market. Like, do you think that's something that's going to happen more and more, where a bunch of people are taking a side on a bet and then all of a sudden it becomes a reality because of the perception that it's already real on the market?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's going to start happening. The extent to which it happens is going to be kind of interesting to follow because I mean, if you just think about one market right now, which is Polymarket has a market on whether Polymarket will launch in the U.S. this year, right? And now it's been influenced by the shutdown and everything like that. But you know, if you're working for Polymarket and you have all these people betting on you, it's like you don't want to let them down. Like you want to have the people that are betting in your corner, like you want to have them win. So that's probably, lights a fire under them to be like, okay, we're gonna launch this shit this year. Like it's gonna happen.
Well, you know what's weird too is I'm sure you saw that what was it? It was Sam Altman on TBPN talking about I can't stop looking at the market. I think that they had a mention market up for what he's gonna say, and
Yeah.
he says live on the air that he's watching like he's looking at the odds.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's probably in the back of if you're one of these people that are like doing something in the world and people are paying a lot of attention to it, like it's in the back of your head, like what the expectations are. And like a really good way to figure out what the expectations are is to check something like Polymarket, where it's like, okay, these people only think there's a 10% chance I'm gonna release ChatGPT 6 this year. Like, it's not really expectations. But if it was like 90%, it would be like, oh shit, the pressure's on. Like, we need to pump this thing out.
It's a weird spot. Like I can't imagine watching the market during an. I'm doing an interview and I have it up, and I'm like, "Fuck, do I?" Because you can't be unbiased after you've seen it and you know that it
Right,
exists.
right, right. It influences you. Yeah, for sure.
It it totally influences you, and I mean, I guess a decent piggyback topic off of that is I feel like every time prediction markets right now, or often when they get mentioned in the mainstream media, the word or the phrase insider trading follows. And now there was all that controversy on the Nobel Peace Prize, and then I saw some posts today with OpenAI's release. How do you think about insider trading and I guess the increase of it as it relates to prediction markets? And I'll even drag on for a second longer. Is there's been a lot of controversy with this in crypto recently, where there's this account that people think is maybe related to the Trump admin that basically went super short. Like, I don't know. So I think on Hyperliquid, it went short Bitcoin like 190, $200 million right before the China tariff announcement. And it's basically been nailing every single one of these trades with multi nine figure size. I mean, the return on that is like disgusting. What this account is making, and because it's on a DEX, the address is public. Everybody sees it. Everyone's tracking it. It's almost like a look at me type of thing, and it just kind of shows that the insider trading is happening across all markets. Now, there's a lot of conversation as it relates to prediction markets. Like, does any part of you think it's a feature, not a bug, that if they're going to insider trade, you might as well do it on a public prediction market where you can get to a result faster?
Yeah, I mean it's a complex issue because you don't want somebody that has the answer already just like profiting off of your users and just like exploiting people, right? So that part of it is kind of a negative. But on the other side of the equation is like, okay, if you think about prediction markets as like because a lot of people that view Polymarket probably don't have an account. They're probably not trading at all. They're probably just going to the website being like, "Oh, what are the odds that this person is doing this?" Like they're just trying to catch up with the news. So if you think about it from that perspective, like the insider traders will make the market more accurate. And so like your product as it exists as like a percentage of accuracy or whatever is going to get better. So that part is good. So I mean it's a nuanced thing. And then the other thing about it is like you also it's hard to disentangle whether someone has the answer already like from some like ill-gotten gains or whatever, like somebody is like insider, like they're in the administration or whatever, or if somebody like did something complex to like figure it out, right? And if somebody like figured it out, then you want that. There's literally the exact person that you want on a prediction market, like pushing the odds in the direction that they should be going, and like rewarding you for like doing all this investigation or whatever trick you pulled to get this information before other people.
There's this funny like running joke in crypto whenever some whale puts on some massive, nine-figure position and everyone's like, "What does he know? What does he know?" And the answer is almost always he knows nothing. He's just a
Right.
like degenerate
Yeah.
gambling addict, which is like the
Yeah.
humor laced in all of it. When you're trading some of these markets, especially the ones where you have bigger size, are you indexing for potential insiders? Like, are you following these wallets that had weird insider like activity? Are you thinking about it? Like, is that part of your equation when you're taking a position?
I mean, so not necessarily when it's more so when you have a position already, and then like somebody's like pushing the odds around, and then it's like, oh no, shit, now what do I do? Do I need to dump this or do whatever? It's kind of like reacting more so than like kind of anticipating it. But the other thing about it is like insiders make it very obvious now when they're insiders, right? It's like a brand new
Fresh
account.
account, yeah.
It's like fully funded. It's like they bet way too much money. They move the odds. It's very, 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 very obvious that they have the answer already, whether it's an insider or somebody that figured it out. So it's kind of like, no, it's easier to notice it now. I'd be worried about, maybe a few months from now or a year from now when people get a lot more sophisticated and they realize that they should try and look like an idiot, degenerate whale that is just making a ridiculous, stupid bet or something. So that's going to be like the next phase of these insiders, where it's like you've set the stage for your account to look like a total dumbass, and then you pounce with your
Mm.
information.
There was what was the it was the Taylor Swift market. That one was funny. It was like her. It was like one of her old drummers or something like this.
Yeah, but I think it was, will she get engaged by
Will she get
XYZ
engaged?
date or
Yeah,
something? And somebody just unloaded a bunch of money like literally 2 days before it was announced.
with like the his like doc's name as his username. That was a good one.
I don't think it ultimately was her guitar player who's like in his 50s or something like
Uh,
that. But yeah, maybe it was like Travis Kelce's cousin or something. Who knows?
that was awesome. Well,
Yeah.
it was awesome as an observer that didn't lose money on the market. And so, yeah, it brings up an interesting point, right? Like there's insiders, but they're pretty obvious that they're insiders. They're coming here, they're slamming markets, they're moving odds. You can kind of like test. You can kind of get a feel for like, is it what type of activity is it? Is it authentic? Is it not? Where do you think we are in terms of efficiency of these markets right now?
We are not close to being efficient. Like, if you're moderately smart and you sign up to Polymarket and you like think about things logically and you go through it and you don't make like incredibly stupid degenerate bets, like you're just gonna make money. Like it's inevitable because there's so many markets and people have very little idea what they're doing. Like, how would you price whether or not Russia and Ukraine like have a peace deal by December 31st? Like, we're just making this number up. Like like if God were to come down, like maybe he would say the number is 5 or the number is 80. Like, who the hell knows what what the actual number is? So a lot of these things are kind of just like made up, and that, people, if people are really smart and they do a lot of research, they can probably get an edge on a lot of markets.
Do you think that that's something that gets closer? Like, is it a scenario where it can ever be fully efficient, if you will, when all these sophisticated actors come in, when there's all these market makers and these HFT firms probably are playing the game? Like, is that a an edge, or maybe that is just like forever going to be dwindling smaller and smaller?
Yeah, the answer to that is yes,
Yeah.
because we're just getting so much better at predicting things that happen in the future. Because, okay, let's say you think about, like, is there going to be a recession next year, right? And you think about where we were 50 years ago, like they had no effing idea whether there
Yeah.
was going to be a recession or not.
Right.
They were just too stupid to know that it was like the relationship between inflation and employment, et cetera. Now, nowadays we have so many fine-tuned things that like we can really kind of precisely figure out like an approximate odds. Like maybe maybe the actual odds are 20 and we're at 23 or something. Like we're getting really, really, really close. So as we're getting better at like all of these fine-tuned things, we can really start to get these like big questions answered a lot better than we could in the past. So I think forecasting is going to get a lot better. It's terrible right now. There's a long way to go, but yeah, Polymarket is also going to hasten how quickly we get better at forecasting,
Uh-huh.
because it literally pays you to be good at forecasting. So, I mean, if we're thinking about, as humans try and predict events in the future, like prediction markets are going to make that a lot better.
So you had this sick take, basically kind of you phrased it differently, but similar type of take on I think the last interview, or maybe it was one of the written ones you did. I was reading. You talk about it where, like, I feel like there's this conception in society that humans are getting dumber. Zoomers are stupid. You don't have an attention span. You're on TikTok all day. You can't focus on anything. Nobody can read. But then you were sort of giving this take of our tools and our mental frameworks for ideas and actions are so much more sophisticated that if you were to jump back into when you started in like 2007, 2008, 2009, you would be literally running the fucking table with what is available to you right now in 2025. And I hadn't really thought of it that way at all, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we're just so much more analytically minded these days. Like let's say you just watch some random basketball game, right? Like if you watch a basketball game, they're going to inundate you with like these efficiency numbers or even like odds. Like so your understanding of like who's like actually really good at basketball is a lot better, right? So somebody who may not score many points, who may not even have much assists or anything, like maybe his plus and minus number is actually really good because he does a lot of like very low key things that you're not paying attention to, and we're just so much smarter about like who is really really good at like any given sport. So if you apply that same type of mindset and analysis to like the world at large, like we're just so much more sophisticated in terms of how we're analyzing things, and people are lean so much more into like numbers and trying to come up with formulas and models and stuff, and yeah, I mean, if you think about where we were in 2007, like nobody had heard of Nate Silver. There was this website that you've undoubtedly never heard of called Daily Costs or something. It was like this liberal site,
Okay.
and he had this blog, Nate Silver, and like barely anyone was reading it. And it's like, it was just this tiny little corner of the internet of the world where people were really trying to apply math to politics, whereas now it's much more ever present.
When it comes to I'm still an eye test guy, but yeah, the analytics have taken over. Have
Yeah.
taken
Okay.
over. I love the mid-range pull up. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so you had this tweet on October 8th. You actually made our every Friday we do top trades of the week. Last week was a rough
Okay.
one, and I think you were number 4 or 3, something like this. And you posted a P&L of $110,000 on the weekly, which normally wouldn't make the top trades because you're going up against all the crypto trades. But the explanation and the way that you made the money was insane. Particularly the piece in the Middle East trade was one of the craziest reads. I mean, dude, it was like insane. I couldn't believe what I was reading on your sort of explanation. Can you talk about that trade?
Yeah, I mean, so uh, I guess it starts back in July when they were coming really close to a peace deal in July. And the thinking in July was like, okay, Israel really wants to get peace done, but the big question mark was on whether Hamas would be okay with it. And I remember chatting with a lot of people who were very, very bullish on a peace deal getting done in July, and all of them were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, it's gonna happen. Oh yeah, Israel's like super pumped, and everyone is and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, the terrorists have to like approve this. Like, they haven't said anything. And so it was in that mindset that I was kind of like just floating along, floating along, floating along, and then we get to this one, and Trump throws out a tweet, and it's like, Israel is going to stop bombing Gaza. Like this guy is tweeting as if he's like the president of Israel too. He's like, "Oh yeah, they're done bombing Gaza." And if you think about it, and I reacted extremely quickly to this tweet, and I bought a bunch of like ceasefire shares immediately. But I mean, if you think about it, like Trump is like more popular in Israel than Bibi Netanyahu is, like than the leader of the country is. So, and he's like Israel is also like or rather the US is also so integral to Israel's like safety and stuff, like we provide them weapons and money and all this stuff. So it's like if Trump tweets this out, like Netanyahu's like boxed in, right? And then if you box Netanyahu in, then all of a sudden you kind of unlock being able to negotiate with these people who otherwise would not want to negotiate with you because they're like, okay, the president of the US is actually a little bit on our side on this one. And so I spent that weekend. I think, let's say Trump tweeted it on like a Saturday, and I spent that weekend like chatting with the exact people that I chatted with in July. And I was like, okay, so what are you thinking now? And they're like, oh no, no, it's not gonna happen. They had literally the exact, like a few of them had literally the exact opposite opinion. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? Come on, like Trump has tweeted this, like it's gonna happen, like it's gonna happen. And so I just bet a shitload of money that they were gonna get a peace deal done that week because I thought Trump was gonna like force it to happen. And then the other time constraint, sorry if I'm rambling a little bit,
Please.
the other time constraint on it was that the Nobel Peace Prize was that Friday. And so I was like, okay, he is gonna it's like at a student turning in a final exam. Like this is his exam due date. Like he's gonna finish this fucking exam by this date. Like it's gonna happen. So there was not only the pressure from Trump just as like a person, but then there was also internally from Trump this like time pressure to get it done. So I was really, really, really bullish on this, and I'm really glad that I made the bet and kind of stuck with it.
It was insane. Yeah, crazy explanation. Yeah, it kind of goes like it's wild how much like I guess to the earlier like efficiency question. It's like how do you even price these markets? And if you react, I hear you say this all the time. Like people always ask you what makes a good prediction market trader. And your first, I think I asked you this the first time as well. And you list a bunch of things, but the first thing you always say is like your ability to like how quickly can you react to new information and make good decisions. And it feels like that remains to be the edge to consistently make money on these things.
Yeah, and you know, you can also analyze it like because I lose money every now and
Of
again,
course.
and sometimes I lose a lot of money on stupid bets, and it's like oftentimes when I go back through it, it's because I didn't react when I should have reacted. Like I got some new piece of information, and I was like, well, I can ignore that or whatever. It's like, yeah, no, like if you get new information, that needs to change your odds, whether it moves it 2 points up or 2 points down or 20 points up or 20 points down. Like you can't be someone that gets a new piece of information and then kind of already has your mind set and doesn't let it influence at all. Like you have to be very, very, very open-minded. And so in that vein, if you're like super open-minded, you get a new piece of information, it's like, okay, react, and you have to react correctly.
I don't know if I've asked you this before. How sophisticated on the technical side are your bets? Like you can I like sports betting has basically been solved to a science, right? I mean, there people have these super sophisticated models. There's basically no. I mean, if I'm sports betting, I'm like, I'm a Lane Kiffin fan. All Miss jerseys are lit. Like they're winning today. Like I'm not any type of sports bettor whatsoever, right?
Yeah,
Trading,
yeah, yeah.
obviously, if I'm trading crypto, has a little bit more of process that I follow, but there's still a lot of like narrative feels good, price feels good. There's a lot of feels good, whereas in sports betting, that isn't the case at all. Like, are you running models on some of these markets? Like, how sophisticated are you from a technical perspective?
You know, it really depends to what degree. Like, first of all, some of these markets can't be modeled,
Yeah.
so I mean, throw that out the window. But if I'm like really, really, really at like, for instance, and this is gonna sound so stupid, but a huge market 2 weeks ago was how many albums uh, Taylor Swift would sell in her first week, and I had like fucking spreadsheets out the galore trying to figure this out, and it literally came down to like 1% plus or minus, and that was a really big win for me. So yeah, it depends on number one, the type of market, whether it's whether it is numerical at all, and then secondly, how much money I have invested in it, because it's like, if I have a for me personally, like $2,000 would not be a big bet. So if I have 1 or 2,000 bucks invested, it's like, okay, not a big deal whether I win or lose. But if I'm getting to like 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, it's like, okay, I need to go through this very logically, very sequentially, very numerically, like analyze it from every single possible perspective. So yeah, in those instances, I will build pretty sophisticated models. Yeah.
What is the psychology behind why you are trading basically every market, even if it's not an amount of money that's meaningful to you when you win?
Well, I mean, so number one, I think it's really fun to like
Okay.
kind of predict what's gonna happen. The other thing about it is like, let's say you see a market and you think it's worth like 30 cents or whatever, and it's trading at 25 cents, like, but you're not really that sure. So that would be a market where I'm like, okay, I'll put $1,000 on it. And if it stays at 25 cents the whole time, there's no reason to put more money on it,
Yeah.
right? But if you're encountering some market that's trading at like, let's say 80 cents, and you think it's worth 30 cents, like you're gonna pay so much attention to that market. You're gonna bet a shitload of money. You're gonna try and figure out why it's
Yeah.
trading at 70, because somebody thinks it's worth 70. So you need to figure out why they think it's worth 70, why they're wrong, etc. And so you're just gonna devote so much time and energy when you see when you think the disparity is like really really big, and then that's also how you end up betting just a ton of money as well. Is basically related to what you think your edge is.
I like that take. You know, one of the reasons I think that you're kind of like a freak in your ability to do this. There's a bunch of reasons, but I like okay, I'm trading coins all day, and I basically got to the point where I always come on here and I say I have a streamer portfolio, and most of my port is in spot Bitcoin, and then I have one or two, maybe three other positions open at any given time that I really believe in, and anything more than that, my mental ability to like close, because I'm like closely monitoring these positions. My ability to closely monitor these trades just goes out the window. It's like it's really two max outside of my spot Bitcoin, and I'm like completely handcuffed, unable to do anything else. Like, how are you managing? Oh, do you have a process to manage all of these open positions at the same time? Because that is, I feel like it's missed when you talk about how many markets you're trading.
Is there a process? No. Should there be a process? Yes, probably. Yeah, because the news comes in kind of sequentially, so it's not as hard as it seems, right? So let's say you just wake up one day and you have 1,000 bets on and you're following the news, like you're not going to get news on all 100 on 100 out of 1,000 bets at a time. Like the news will come in one at a time, maybe one or two bets
Yep.
that you're paying attention to. So it's easier to handle than you think because it's not like it's not like I'm betting on 1,000 football games that are happening the exact same day, right? Some of these markets last for 6 months, some of them last for a week, so it's a little bit slower paced, and you can follow things sequentially and you can follow things little by little. It's not as hard as it seems. Now, yes, sometimes you will get blown up because you missed some tweet and like, that happened. So yeah, it does present a challenge. It's not easy to do, but it's not like some complex, super hard thing to do.
This was the hardest thing for me when I was trading low cap meme coins all day. It's like you're in these super volatile positions, and I'm in five at once, and then you have all of the founders on tweet notifications, and it's like it's you can't. I mean, you can't close your computer. Like if you cannot close your computer with multiple positions open on coins that are at like 300, 500k market cap. It's like you're trading or you're not, and I don't do that much, like the trenching stuff much anymore. But I think, yeah, even though your explanation is fair, I think this is like an underrated aspect of your skill set is to be able to mentally manage all of these positions. I guess a follow up on that is is there a system to how you are sizing and how you think about like how much of your bankroll is open at any given point? Because like another thing that becomes difficult in crypto is managing your, this is like a mental thing, but managing your portfolio split with funds across different chains. Like you have a lot of money on ETH, maybe your main port is on Solana, but then like BNB Binance ecosystem pops off, and I'm like bridging funds to Binance to trade these coins, and it gets like really, it becomes like a little bit of a mental math jargon to sort how much am I sizing on any given position and what is my portfolio worth when I'm split across multiple different ecosystems. It's kind of what you do on a daily basis with trading markets. Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, so if I think about crypto coins or whatever, ecosystems and stuff like that, that seems more adjacent to kind of like stocks. And, I there's a lot of time and attention that goes into how to properly balance your portfolio and like maximize it for risk and, not be too risky and not be too, passive or whatever. So I know that that's a very complex topic, but it's very, very, very different in prediction
Yeah.
markets. If I saw a market that I really wanted to bet on and I thought the price was really wrong, like I would like pour in an extreme example, I would be willing to pour every single dollar that I had into that
Whoa.
market. Like, so I mean, it can be very, 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 very concentrated, right? Especially if you feel like you've kind of wrapped your head around it. Because in prediction markets, like you can kind of wrap your head around everything in the equation. Like, how many album sales will Taylor Swift release? Like, you can study everything. Like, you can figure this out. Like, the answer is knowable. Whereas the challenge that you're encountering is kind of unknowable. Like, is Ethereum going to go up more tomorrow, or
Correct.
is BNB going to go up tomorrow? It's like it's unknowable. So prediction markets is a finite thing. It you can wrap your head around the whole thing, and I'm super willing to like concentrate all of my bets in like X, Y, and Z at any given time.
Did listening to the album go into your equation at all?
Um, not a little bit, a little bit. Well, first of all, I'm a Taylor Swift fan. I'm not like a Swiftie or anything, but like I really like her music and I really like her as a person. So I listen to it immediately regardless. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure that the quality mattered much to me, no.
Okay, just curious.
And
On
in fact, I think sorry to interrupt you, but in fact, I think a lot of like normies, like regular people, were like, "Oh, this album isn't really that good," and that threw them on totally the wrong path. And that is one of the reasons why it was so profitable to make so much money because the Swifties like almost don't give a shit about the quality, right? Taylor Swift releases an album, I am buying as many albums as I can. That is their mentality. Like the quality doesn't really enter the equation. So if you let the quality influence you, then maybe you're betting on no, and it's like, oh, you are on the wrong path, bud.
this is what
So yeah,
this was the
it
narrative,
can
by the
be
way.
misleading.
Everybody was posting like their girlfriend says the album sucks. Short,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. They got blown the fuck out. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that was rough. I like that. Quality doesn't even come into the equation. To your last take on the sizing thing, what's the last market that you basically full ported?
Oh, geez. I mean, it would have been so long ago just because it's like, my portfolio is now like too big to like put into one thing. And plus, if you have all of these bets, like it's hard to liquidate the bet and move it into another bet. So a lot of your bets are just kind of stuck for, a month or 2 months. So it's hard to answer that question. But the Taylor Swift album, I had over a million. So right now I have like 2 million in terms of in prediction markets. And the Taylor Swift market, I had over a million bet on it. So over half of my portfolio was in the number of albums that she released.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I think I made a quarter of a million, which is bonkers to think about,
You had over
right?
half of
'Cause-
your port in that? I didn't realize that. Dude.
yeah, I had over a million in, and I think I made around 250,000. Yeah.
How much of your conviction, dude, Jesus, man. How much of your
All right.
conviction to get there was solo versus other trader confluence? Like, was the thesis just completely yours?
No, 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 no. That one was definitely very, very, very important to talk to people that were smarter than me. No, that was like fully a team effort. In fact, I should probably like send these people like bottles of wine or something. That's that's a good reminder. I should reach back out to these people.
Send him one of the fucking. I was gonna ask you how do I get one of the Domah PFPs.
Dude, I think that was AI, but I actually want that. Like I'm gonna try to make that happen.
I had it on my list to ask you for one at the beginning, but I got sidetracked. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't realize that you had that much of your port in it. Nice trade. That's yeah, that's wild. Um, okay, so this is what I want to know is we talked a lot about your sort of trading style. Bringing it back a little bit to prediction markets going viral. Where do you think like where are all of these new traders coming from?
Um, Good question. Well, I mean, so a lot of the traders are coming from places where like sports bet, like if you think about the US, so like sports betting is only legal in like let's say 20 states. I don't know the exact, but whatever it is. Like all these other states are kind of like hearing about prediction markets for the first time and they're like, "Oh, okay, I can sign up for this. I'm not allowed to do it." So that's number one. And then number two is like, as it enters like the zeitgeist, as like people are talking about it, it's like they're hearing about it, they're going to the website and they're being like, this is actually really cool. I mean, if you explained a prediction market to someone like with no context, right, they would think it sounded way too complicated. They would be like, that sounds dorky. That sounds ridiculous. But, a lot of people are kind of giving it to them in the right context. And when they get in the right context, it's like, okay, this is cool. That this is something for me. So I think they're people are doing a much better job of explaining like what they are, and that has been bringing a lot of new people in.
You know what's funny is when I filmed that Polymarket announcement video, I think we filmed it I don't know, like a month ago, and there was like 12 actors that showed up that I didn't know. We like contacted some agency, they brought in all these actors. I think there's 10, maybe 10 people, and including the camera equipment crew, there was maybe 5 to 10 of them. So there's like 15, 20 people, and none of them knew what Polymarket was. And it was a little bit of like a robust script, and so I did this speech at the beginning, and I sat everybody down, and I was at the whiteboard, and I like explained what Polymarket was, and people, none of them knew what it was off rip. But once I started talking about it, they were like, "Oh, like when you could bet on like what Trump's gonna say." Like people knew, like they knew what it was in the context of it being explained. Which
Right?
I wish I had the speech. I would fucking tweet it if I had it. It was pretty good. But so no one Polymarket. They're like, "What's that?" But when I started explaining what it was, a couple people were like, "Oh, like South Park." Like they got it, which was actually really interesting. I was a little bit surprised.
Yeah, I mean that's so true. You need to give it to them in like a way that they understand and process, and like when people hear about it in like a context that they can relate to, it's like it makes so much sense, right? It's like a logical thing that exists. It's like, oh yeah, of course it does. Like this is really cool. Let me be a part of it. So, yeah, I mean, I think in some ways these kind of market themselves, but then you also have to find like the right message to like reach people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you think Edge is deteriorating or it's getting more difficult to trade these markets as new people come in, or is this like a early 2000s poker type online poker situation, which I'm sure you know way better than me, that there are fish and they are ready to play with their money?
I mean, I think online poker is actually a pretty good analogy because yes, like an individual market is harder than it was, and it's probably the hardest it ever was, right? So in each individual market. But the flip side of that is that there's so many new players and there's so many markets and there's like it's so widespread that even if your edge is smaller on some individual markets, right? You can do 30 of these markets instead of 10, and therefore you're able to make even more money even though you have a smaller edge. And that was kind of like the case in poker, like because it just got so popular that even if the games are a little bit harder, you could like multi-table, you can play 10 tables at once. Like
Yeah.
there's so many people playing. So it was like your profit potential was like higher even though the games were getting a little bit harder. You know what I'm saying?
What was the poker on was it the Chris Moneymaker thing that blew it up?
Yeah, yeah. So like ESPN, like the first year that they aired it, some like no-name guy that was just like a regular schlub. In fact, he was kind of like overweight and pudgy and like he just
He
looked
was like a
like
he was like a
something
substitute
they
teacher or something, right? Like a
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he won the whole thing. And he didn't play particularly well, if we're being honest. And people were like, okay, if this guy can do it, like he's a substitute teacher, like he's just a regular dude. Like if he can do it, I can do it. And so many people signed up for poker, and because it was also so easy to sign up for online poker back then. So yeah, it just got super popular super quickly.
It was what, like 2004? I think I was 2. What were you doing when were you watching? Were you playing poker at that time?
Yeah, I was watching it. I think I had maybe senior year of college or something like that, or just junior year. I don't remember the years, but anyway, it was like near the end of my college career, and I was like watching it on TV. I think it was over the summer, and it's like this is awesome, and you can see like the hands, and you can see the strategy. There's like games within games, and there's bluffing. It's a simple game, but it's also like
Yeah.
complex, and there's a lot of decisions to be made in like a short amount of time, and you make or lose money depending on how good you are. And so it was like, as someone, because a lot of us grew up like playing video games,
Yeah.
right? And poker is kind of just like a game, right? It's kind of a video game, and if you're watching it on TV, it's kind of like watching a video game. And so a lot of people just like signed up immediately, just like chasing that high. So I think, in fact, I think I used my graduation money from college to make my first poker deposit, and I lost my first $100 like within 30 minutes. Like it was just gone. But like I think I like reflected on it and I was like, I think I can do this. Like, yeah, I lost that money immediately, but like I think I can wrap my head around this and do it. And it was that second $100 that literally is my entire career.
That's insane. There's a lot of people that it feels like all of the best traders are. They always talk about poker. They all were ex poker pros, all of them. That's why when you told me, I was like, yeah, fuck, makes sense, like obviously. And everybody reminisces on the online poker days, and a lot of people will compare what meme coins were to the online poker days. Just sped run a lot faster, and the fish ran out of money. It became the sharps playing against the sharps, the best players against the best players, and we're just like passing money around until everyone's like, all right, fuck this, like let's just call it and find a new game. Do you think like I don't know? I wasn't really planning to ask you about this, but what do you think broke? I don't know if broke's the right word, but what do you think was like the kind of the kiss of death for online poker? And do you think a similar thing can happen to prediction markets at some point?
Yeah, well, I mean, so what happened to poker is actually very clear, and it's called like Black Friday, I think, and like the U.S. government like shut everything down. They like sued everyone, and they it was very unclear if people were going to get paid, and so even as like new poker sites kind of cropped up, people were like super leery about it, and like even like some professional poker players like kind of moved to Mexico and like were trying
Oh,
to keep it going, and they just couldn't do it, and so it just broke the entire industry like literally from one day to the next. It went from like thriving to like, okay, this is not a job anymore. This doesn't exist anymore. We all need to find something else to do. So that was a very clear event. And the other thing, the reason that I use a pseudonym, right, is because prediction markets have constantly been getting shut down. If you look at the first prediction market that I was using, it was shut down in 2012 by the government.
oh.
The second prediction market that I used shut down by the government. So it's like, why do I want to put my name out there and be doing something where like the government is like constantly trying to go after it? But I think there's two things that are really in prediction markets corner right now. And number one is the current administration, which is, I mean, whatever. We don't need to get into that, but it's very prediction market friendly,
Uh-huh.
so that's good. And then number two is like there's a runway here where the prediction markets can use this current administration and kind of like gain a foothold and turn this into a legit business. And these companies are getting investments from like a very strong partners. And so when you have these very strong partners, it makes your underlying company a lot stronger. And so I think over the next couple years, they're really going to solidify their position to the point where the government isn't going to be able to shut it down anymore.
It feels like the same things happen to crypto, and we're basically praying that like there's just like some things that can't be undone, right? Like the Genius Act and things like this. It's like it's through, it's passed, it's validated, and then no matter who is in office on the next term, like there's only so much you can sort of backtrack. I didn't really realize that was I for some reason I was under the inclination that with poker it was just like all of these solvers and GTO and all of this. I didn't realize that there was the Black Friday thing. W lore. Tell
Yeah,
me.
I did. One thing I just want to say on that is like I feel like what is incumbent upon these companies right now is to put themselves in a position where the government can't shut them down. Because I feel and I feel like that's even applicable to like crypto.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, yeah, it's a heyday right now. Yeah, everything's going super well and that's but like, you also want to fortify your position, right? You want to kind of make sure that everything is kind of on the up and up. And so I feel like that's also incumbent upon these companies right now at least this administration to kind of make sure that no one can tear it down.
Yeah, I like that. It feels like it's happening. Fat. I mean, it feels like it's accelerating that as well, which is really good to see. So okay, I'm sure there's a lot of people now, particularly on the crypto side, that are watching everybody talk about prediction markets, prediction markets, prediction markets, and they're trying to figure out, is this actually a viable game for me to play? Um, I'm sure you probably get asked this a lot, but like, how do you start how and where do you start? Like, what do you need from a capital perspective? And I mean, you trade basically every market. I'm sure that's not exactly realistic for somebody just coming in, but like when somebody asks you, like, where do I go? How do I begin? Like, what do you tell them to do?
Okay, I think that's like the easiest possible answer. So first of all, you do not need to be like me. I'm like the apex predator of prediction markets. Like you're coming in on the ground floor. So number one, I would say deposit just a little bit of money, like anything you can afford to lose, right? And then the second thing is there are so many effing markets on these sites. Like what you should do is scroll through them, right? And try to find one where you think you may have an edge. Maybe it's something you're interested in. Maybe it's something where you see the number and it's like, that doesn't make any sense. And maybe, or whatever factor it is. And here's the worst thing that will happen. Number one, the worst thing that will happen is you will lose money that you can already afford to lose. Number two, the worst thing that will happen is you will probably become smarter on some topic where you've decided to research it. And so it's like, there's really like very 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 little downside to joining and becoming a prediction market player, because you can choose what markets to bet on, you can choose how much to bet. So as long as you're very responsible about it at the beginning, you can kind of figure it out, get the lay of the land, and then if you get good at it, then you can increase your money, increase the number of bets, find more markets. So I think prediction markets, it is very easy to start low and get big really quickly. And I think a lot of players, like especially the new ones, like they do these like 1K to 100K challenge or whatever. Like a lot of these people are successful at doing it if they're doing it the right way.
I was thinking about this today when I was thinking about you leading up to this. I mean, you have to have the most ridiculous domain knowledge on the most niche topics that have ever. I mean, it's like insane the level of coverage you have when it comes to a conversation with somebody IRL.
I mean,
You're like the
that's
best
really funny.
wedding guest invite of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because I do feel like that's true. Because like, and especially at weddings, like if I'm just chatting with someone, like inevitably I know something about it. Because I think I was sat next to like a rugby player at the most recent wedding I was at, and it's like I know rugby knowledge because I've put up markets on like rugby scores, even though I'm not sure I've ever seen like a full rugby game in my whole life. So yeah, number one, that's true. But I also feel like number two, like the other thing that's funny about this is like when you're predicting a market, right? You are like it's like you're cramming for an exam, right? You are learning as much knowledge as fast as possible, like for this certain endpoint that is coming very quickly. And it's like you need to be as smart as possible, as quickly as possible. Well, what happens when you cram for an exam, right? And the reason that teachers hate when you do this is because if you look at it 3 months in the future, you have inevitably forgotten everything you you have learned, or maybe you only have like little snippets. So, I won a lot of money, and I was like a really like expert trader on the the papal
Uh
conclave or
huh.
whatever. But if you ask me about it 2 years from now, I will probably have. I'll just be like any other random idiot, like with only very very little knowledge on it. Because that all that knowledge that I had like really crammed has kind of just dissipated over that 2 year time period.
That was one of your best posts ever. You're talking about how you're reading like Italian newspapers and like that was I think that's how one of the ways I found you actually. That was such a good post. Or I think I had found you for the suit debate and I was scrolling your feed because I didn't really know what I was like going up against and I was like, oh fuck, we have to really prepare for this one. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
that's fine.
I'll let you go in a couple minutes, but you know, here's a question for you: Is I've had a lot of people show me non-binary markets and like indexes, if you will, on specific like verticals within prediction markets. Do you have a take on this? Like, do you have any insight on this? How it works? If it's going to be a thing? Like, I don't know. Have you thought about this?
What do you mean by non-binary? Well, first of all, people DM me all the time. Their ideas of like the tool that they're building, and some of them are interesting, and some of them are like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But so what?
Well, like
What?
how you
What
you
do you
could you
mean?
could like go long, like you could go like long Republican on like an index of like Republican outcomes, but none of them are specific bind. It's like weighted based on the 15 different markets that are like within the financial vehicle, basically. I I don't know. I've heard a lot of people like
That's interesting.
no one can explain to me how it works though. I'm always like, okay, but the market concludes. How does that work? And they're like, well, we waited. No one can explain to me how it works.
I mean, that's interesting because it's kind of just like an ETF, like a themed ETF,
Correct.
except on prediction markets. I think that's actually a really good idea. The logistics would be a little bit different because it's like, this market pays out in November and this market pays out in September, and how do you figure all that out? But the idea in general is pretty good that like, you put in $100 and then this portfolio manager, like someone that you obviously trust, like divvies it up like between, let's say the theme is Republicans, like they try and find the best Republican markets to bet on. I think that's really interesting. I actually hadn't heard that one before. It could be good. I'm not sure the markets are big enough yet for that in terms of like volume, but a couple years from now for sure.
It was a cool idea. No, yeah, no one can exactly explain how it works, but in theory, it's like, yeah, this sounds
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah, I mean, the thing about prediction markets is like you can build so many cool things on top of them, and you can like get all this data away from it. It's like a gold mine in terms of like trying to work with them.
well, and I think this kind of brings me like one of the last things I want to bring up. Be cognizant of your time here. Is I think there's a lot of really smart people that are optimistic about prediction markets, but they really think whatever the next sort of on-chain crypto adjacent game is going to be the ecosystem built around on top of adjacent to prediction markets, which I think is really interesting. I know there's I would imagine now, especially post election, there's a lot of people building really cool stuff as we like approach the upcoming one. Um, you wrote this crazy post about PolyToken and like what that would mean for just PMs in general and how big of a deal it would be. I think you cited $9 billion valuation, and I know you. I mean, you're way more crypto native than most. I know we talked about it a little bit in the last stream that you mostly just are interested in. We got the GCR lore. You're mostly just interested in prediction markets. But we talked about crypto a little bit, and yeah, you wrote this like masterful bull post, if you will, on how big of a deal a potential poly token would be. And my favorite part of it was you basically just said like it would be a bull market in itself if this happened. Like I don't know if your thoughts. I don't really have like a pointed question on it. Rather than I kind of want to hear you talk about the topic. Like, have your thoughts evolved on it at all? Like, are you thinking about it frequently? Like, feels like there's a lot of people that are tweeting that they're airdrop farming, whatever it is. Like, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the post kind of like speaks for itself in some sense, but I also think if you think of the world in terms of where you want to make a bet, right? And it's whether like for like if you're getting married, right? You're making a bet on that person, right? You are putting in all of your chips. Like you have
Yeah, hell
evaluated the
yeah.
situation. It's like, there's risk involved there. Like you're putting yourself out there, and maybe this marriage doesn't work out. Maybe it's like the best thing in your life. Like you're making a bet. So if I'm thinking about Polymarket, if I'm thinking about what their token could do, like the usefulness of it, like I think it would be integral to the website. I think it would be actual, like there would be tons of utility with it. And then if I'm thinking about the world like 10 years from now, it's like it seems like it would be an extremely, extremely, extremely good bet to be long Polymarket right now. Like yes, Polymarket could fail. Yes, I could look like an idiot making a post like that. But like I think in a majority of the worlds like that exist in the future, like Polymarket exists and it's a lot bigger than it is right now.
Yeah, I think it's a sick post. It probably ages well, and I think there's one line in there that was my favorite. I think this, I'd heard it before. I don't think you like originated the take, but you wrote it. It's a beautiful line. I think this was the thing that like really clicked prediction markets for me a couple months back, and it's that like the real product is information, and to be a user of Polymarket or any prediction market, if you will, you don't have to actually trade. And because that was one thing is like I'm like, man, I'm not really like trading these markets that much, and I would like to, and we're gonna start, but I'm using it frequently, like we're looking at it all the time. and I was almost like concerned there was a disconnect there until it kind of clicked that like no, this is like what it's intended to do. Like the majority of people that are using Polymarket are not even going to be signed in. They're just going to be on the browser on the website, like looking at odds for a specific market for a specific niche, whatever it is. And I think that to me, I think is the ultimate click for the mainstream, if you will, that most people won't even be trading them, but everybody's going to be pulling it up and looking at odds because it's just like more accurate than an opinionated news outlet, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely true. And I think in that same vein, like one thing you may see, like just to use a random example, like I think the picture will be very clear, but like there was a market on who the next Japanese prime minister was going to be. And I think she was just elected like either yesterday or the day before. But if you think about that market like 2 months ago, like I can imagine very easily like a big bank in Japan, like gives Polymarket $25,000 and like sponsors this market and like incentivizes market makers and like tries to basically get the best information out of the traders as possible. So it's like because the information that Polymarket produces is going to be so important to that bank because whoever the prime minister is going to be, maybe the interest rates are going to go up, maybe they're going to go down. Like there's so many it integrates with so many things that they're already doing. So I think one thing is we might be having like sponsored markets where they want to know the answer to this question and they want to basically pay people to make the market on it and figure out what the answer is.
I didn't even think of damn yeah, 25K. Someone put this 25K kind of low to influence elections. I didn't even really think about that as a yeah, that's like I mean that's a killer use case. Huh. Wow, I like that. Did you play that market?
I did play that market and I almost made a ton of money, but I think I ended up like breaking even.
What happened?
So, okay, yeah. So this woman who is kind of like a Margaret Thatcher, like in terms of like she's very conservative and a little bit controversial. She was elected the leader of this certain party that was definitely going to become prime minister, right? And once she was elected, I was thinking, well, I mean, she's kind of controversial, so maybe they won't elect her prime minister, right? And so she was trading at 99, she was literally trading at 99.9% to be the prime minister. And I bought like 50,000 shares of no. And then the next week, there was like problems within the country and it's like I'm not sure if we're going to elect her. So she went from 99.9 to 75. She eventually did become the prime minister, but I
Oh.
almost won a 1,000 to 1 odds bet. That would have been the post on that would have been extremely sick.
Whoa, are you like thinking about the post as these odds are dropping?
No, I mean I no, I'm because I feel like that's the road to like, being like arrogant and like, putting the cart before the horse. No, I'm more like I just really hope this works out.
I feel like you've been on a run on the Twitter side though. I guess you've always kind of been, but
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my account has grown with prediction markets, right? So I was posting probably the exact same stuff, but nobody nobody was really
nobody
seeing
cared.
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
My last question for you is do you have any interest in building something at some point, like on top of prediction markets, adjacent to prediction markets? Like, do you? I don't know. It's like as these things are really going mainstream. It's like everybody is pitching me and shilling me prediction market company, not even just markets, but tools, all types of things like this. Like, do you have any interest in not just trading, or is it trading that's like your will continue to just be like your full passion?
I have zero, I have absolutely zero. Like it doesn't drive me at all to be able to create something. Like I just love what I'm doing so much and I'm in it like if prediction markets like dropped by 99%, right? Like everybody just like woke up tomorrow and was like, okay, we're not going to use them anymore. Like I would still be doing it. Like it would be me and like 15 other people. Like I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. Whether anyone else is doing it, that's fine. But I've found what I'm doing and I'm sticking to it.
That's so awesome. Are you like a like when you were like in high school or whatnot? Were you like an obsessive like gaming? Were you like RuneScape or something? Were you playing it all day every day? Like, have you done this before with anything else?
Okay, so when I was in high school, the superlative that I got was most likely to be a millionaire. And the reason that I won that award in high school was because I would always go to like the computer lab and like do these fake stock trading games. So I've always been super into trading. And when I was in high school, I thought I would be doing stock trading all the time. And I think it was only in college that I kind of like realized that these finance guys like work so much and they don't seem super happy and like it actually it's not very glamorous lifestyle. So I was like, I'm not sure that I want to be doing this for a living. But it's funny that I kind of ended up being like this diehard trader, but just on a different thing than stocks.
I thought the most likely to be a millionaire thing was only in movies. I didn't know that was like a real thing.
No, no, no. It's like, most popular kid. They handed it out at the end of high school to all the seniors.
Dude, that is aura. I would have flexed that shit for like the rest of my life. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny.
Yeah, they were right, I guess, on the prediction market profile. Um, Doma, it was awesome, man. I thanks for coming back on, dude. It was honestly, I think it was a sick second episode. First one we did like a ton of lore. This one we got a little bit more into the weeds on these things, but it's cool to see your conviction really get validated. It's also really cool to see a lot of my crypto friends be like Doma, 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 because I think you are a sick person that honestly everybody should be exposed to, sitting down listening to the things that you talk about. So hopefully in the future, maybe when I cross my seven figures on Polymarket, we'll do part three. But dude, it was an absolute pleasure, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Have a good one, man. Thanks for coming on. Much love. Good luck with everything, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Peace.
Peace.